Right. I don't have time to remember all of your names, so I'm going to give you names because I probably remember those and forget your names. So you're Bob, you're Scoop, you're Muck, you're Dizzy, you're Rolly, you're Lofty, you're Wendy, you're Travis, you're Bird, you're Spud, and you're Pilchard, and you're random guy in the background. Aren't those all Bob the Builder characters? Apart from the last one. Yes, that is a Bob the Builder reference. Right, okay, fair enough. You know what? For that, I'm going to sing for you. Okay, go ahead. Oh, by the way, for the audience's visual pleasures, I did used to have some Bob the Builder toys, however, I don't own those anymore. So for your visual viewing, we'll just use pictures of the characters from the original series. Okay, Doctor, take it away. Bob the Builder, can we fix it? Bob the Builder, yes we can. Scoop, Muck and Dizzy and Rolly too. Lofty and Wendy join the crew. Bob and the gang have so much fun working together to get the job done. Bob the Builder, can we fix it? Bob the Builder, yes we can. I think so. Pilchard and Bird, Travis and Spud, playing together like good friends should. Bob the Builder, can we fix it? Bob the Builder, yes we can! Woo! Well done, Doctor. I never knew you had such a wonderful singing voice. I really need to check out your music more often. Oh, thank you, Clara. Thank you very much. Now, you lot, back to training. Hello everyone, Nick here, and it's snowing outside. I don't know if you can tell very well, but yeah, it's been a bit snowy. It was more snowy earlier. I think other places in the country have had it more snowy. So after that little treat, welcome everybody to my review of Doctor Who Series 9, Episode 5, The Girl Who Died, written by Jamie Matheson and Stephen Moffat. So, The Girl Who Died, as mentioned, this is the 5th episode, unless I said it wrong, of Series 9 of Doctor Who, and it's the 3rd script by Jamie Matheson after Series 8's Mummy on the Orient Express and Flatline, although the latter actually came first in the script writing point of view, but Mummy was broadcast first. Anyway, so yes, and Matheson will return again in Series 10 with Oxygen. And out of the 4, I do believe this is his weakest of his 4 scripts. But that being said, this is still a really great story. Jamie Matheson has written no bad scripts. He has written all great scripts. This one is the weakest by default, but that's okay. Not everything's going to be stellar. That being said, it's still a really great story. So the plot of this story sees the Doctor and Clara after a pretty good pre-title scene with Clara having a space spider thing in her spacesuit whilst the Doctor's coming under attack from his alien race whilst protecting another alien race. And then afterwards, they go outside and they get captured by Vikings. So this takes place around the 1800s, 800 something AD, so 9th century. And they are taken to the Viking village that the Vikings that captured them are from. When the Doctor tries to pretend to be Odin in human form to escape, but then Odin actually turns up, except it's not the real Odin, it's another fake Odin. The leader of an alien warrior race known as the Maya, taking on the form of Odin to trick the Vikings into joining him in Valhalla, when in actual fact he sent his fellow Maya army down to recruit the the strongest and the fittest Viking warriors to take up to their spaceship so they can be turned into a testosterone juice. So that's basically what they want. However, Clara and a girl called Ashilda accidentally get caught up in the mix, and Ashilda they survive, and Ashilda declares war on the Maya because of their insult and murder of the fellow Viking warriors. So the Maya send them back to the village so they can prepare for a fight that will take place the next day. So the village now has to prepare for a fight to fight the Maya the following day, and they only have one day to learn how to fight because the people who are left are farmers and fishermen. They do not fight like the warriors. So the Doctor and Clara have to teach them how to fight back against the Maya. And it proves that they are very unsuccessful in the usual methods of fighting like their warriors are, and that said types of fighting won't be very effective against the Maya. And the Doctor is kind of stuck about how to defeat the Maya until he gets an idea from Ashilda herself when he discovers she's a good storyteller, and eventually, and with the realization that they have electric eels in the as some of the fish they catch, he comes up with a plan to defeat and at the same time humiliate the Maya with the help of Ashilda and with the villagers contributing in a different type of battle to what they were initially training for and what the Maya were expecting. And that's more or less the plot. And it's a pretty great plot. It's quite a fun story. First off, my only real kind of nitpick is why the Vikings capture the Doctor and the Clara in the first place. I guess they wanted to serve slaves, but they don't really have any dialogue to say why they captured them. Though it is quite funny when the leader Viking, not the chief elder, but the guy in charge of the group that have come back from the raids, and when it's quite a funny moment when he takes off the Doctor's sonic sunglasses and snaps them in half. I expect everyone who hated the sonic sunglasses in the last 4 episodes, I expect they loved that scene. And only half of the sonic sunglasses still gets used, which is why Clara and Ashilda get captured. The sonic sunglasses or another pair will be making their return for the rest of the series, but it's still quite a funny scene to see. And for all those who hated the sonic sunglasses in the first 4 episodes, well, this is a scene for you people. They will be back for the rest of the series, and for series 10, well, another pair at least, or other pairs, but this scene is for you. The only other real nitpick I have is a scene in the middle of the story where, after the Doctor gives the swords to the villagers after he thinks they're capable of using swords now after a bit of training with wooden sticks, after he gives the swords back, there's a bit of a chaos scene, and it's kind of just told to us in exposition by Clara. And whilst it's a bit of a fun scene and quite funny, hilarious, it is a very more tell, not show type of thing, which in television, we could have had a bit more show, and I suppose this kind of works, but at the same time, it would have been good to see some chaos on screen. Maybe it was cut for time, maybe we did have a couple of scenes, but might have been cut for time, or maybe they thought it'd be funnier if we just cut from them about to use the swords to the aftermath of the chaos. But then Clara has to fill the audience in on what happened. So, yeah, I think that one could have been adjusted slightly. The last kind of nitpick is the Maya being another warrior race. They are kind of a bit bland and not really, isn't really an awful lot. They're not really that much distinguishable from the Sontarans, to be honest. You could have used the Sontarans, or you could have used pretty much anybody. The Maya is basically just another warrior race. It's starting to snow more than it did when I showed you a few minutes ago. But yeah, I think the Maya could have been swapped out with the Sontarans or somebody else, and it wouldn't really have changed much. We haven't had a proper Sontaran story since 2008. But if those on-set photos of Series 13 are true, then that's going to change later this year at time of recording, 2021. Bring it on, Series 13. That's really about it for nitpicks. The rest of it is really good. The Doctor having to conflicting whether he should save this one village or protect them from the Maya is really good. Clara's a pretty good supportive character. She doesn't get a huge amount to do in this story after talking to the Maya, and I actually like the bit when she's trying to act like the Doctor on the Maya ship, because any companion in that situation would do that as well. Any of the ones that wouldn't scream every other 5 seconds. I also think it works because Jamie Matheson is just really good at writing Clara trying to be like the Doctor, and it doesn't come off as annoying or anything like that. It actually kind of works. The companions have to step up when the Doctor is absent. And I think Matheson does it best with Clara with this and Flatline. In fact, actually, I don't even know if she's trying to be all like the Doctor. She's just trying to be. She's trying to act like him, but she's not pretending to be the Doctor. So, yeah, I think he does a really good job with that. And it's kind of tying in with part one of the story arcs of the series, that Clara is trying to be a lot like the Doctor, which is going to play a major part in episode 10 when we get to it. But more on that later. In the meantime, I think the scene works pretty well for this episode. Maisie Williams does a really great job as Ashildr, who I like Ashildr in this episode. I mean, the opinion's going to kind of go down a little bit over the series, but for this episode, I think she's really good. I like the character that they're going with, a storyteller who worries that if she comes up with the wrong story, something bad's going to happen. So she has to try and make the right story, and so things would work out a little bit better for everyone. And I like how that plays in with how they defeat the Maya in the end, when Ashildr is given a Maya helmet to think of to make her pretend dragon puppet that they roll out to look like an actual dragon, although it does look very CGI to the audience. But to be honest, as it's a fake one, then I suppose it being pretty very noticeably CG makes a lot of sense. So yeah, and the dragon eel creature attacking the Maya, what is the Maya thinking it was in actual fact they were just running away from a puppet. That was hilarious, and it's a really great way to defeat the Maya. That was brilliant. We also got some other great comedy with the Doctor trying to train some of the Vikings, and he gives them funny names. As you'll see in the sketch that I did earlier, one of them is called Lofty, and that's why I did the Bob the Builder reference in the sketch. It was all Bob the Builder references. In the actual episode, it's other names as well as Lofty, but I wanted to do the Bob the Builder stuff for the sketch. So, yeah, but it was really funny. There was a couple, there's some really funny ones. Daphne and Noggin the Nog, Heidi, they come to mind. Chuckles, which is what the Doctor calls Ashildr's father. Yeah, it was just really funny, and some pretty funny stuff there, and some great character moments as well with the Doctor and the baby. I know some people were a bit, and I have been a bit annoyed that the Doctor is taking the fact that he speaks baby seriously in this episode, whilst it was more played for laughs in Series 6 when he spoke to Melody Pond and Alfie Owens, aka Stormageddon, Dark Lord of All. But honestly, I don't think it's a problem. I think it works really well with the dramatic stuff in the episode, as well as some funny bits as well later on. But it works really well on a dramatic level. Also, even if it was played for laughs in Series 6, it was more or less established. Or at least for the 11th and 12th Doctors anyway. I'm not so sure about any of the others. But the 11th Doctor can definitely speak cat, baby, and horse. 12 can also seemingly speak baby. And in this episode, I think that works. And I think this episode is just a really good one in itself. There's some great acting, great cinematography, and great editing in places. There is this one bit, and there is a one in the next episode as well, where we kind of have a strange transition where it's the kind of whizzy pan kind of thing. Different type of one to what Series 3 and early Series 4 did, and I got a bit annoyed about those being overused. It's a slightly different version, and it does feel like it didn't need to be there. You could have a simple cut in the transition that would have worked just as well. In fact, it is kind of a weird transition for that particular cut. It's about halfway through the episode during the training scene or the planning scene. In which case it might have come a bit later on, actually, if it's the planning scene. Yeah, actually, I think it was the planning scene. It's coming late when they're planning their attack on the Maya, so it's coming at the 2/3 point, actually. And next episode, I think there is one at one point a little bit earlier on or midway through where they kind of do that, and it's not really necessary. It's less noticeable than in this episode, but yeah, I'm blaming the editors on those bits. How odd those transitions were. That's really about it for The Girl Who Died, without having to get into the last 8 minutes of the episode, 8-9 minutes of the episode. So yeah, let's get on to those last 8-9 minutes. After the defeat of the Maya in a really great and really funny scene, and a pretty good comeuppance for the Maya. Yeah, the Doctor sends them away, but it's still a really funny and humiliating comeuppance for them. The last 8 minutes are dedicated to the fact that Ashilda dies because she used heartburn, I think, from using the Maya helmet. She was used up like a battery. So the Doctor has a bit of a strop, and he's a bit upset about losing Ashilda, but then remembers that he found his face, his current incarnation's face, from the fact that he saved Carkelius from the fires of Pompeii, and he realizes he's been given that face because he saves people. He saves Carkelius, so the face is there to remind him that he is there to save people. And I love how Peter Capaldi is really depressed about Ashilda's death, and then working out why he's got his face, and then coming to the realization that I am the Doctor and I save people. Fantastic line, by the way. And then he goes off to save Ashilda. However, because he's in a more emotional state at the moment, it's possible that he could have made a mistake. And as we see later on in the series, he may have been a bit rash. His decision may have been a rash decision, and he may have gone a little too far as he saves Ashilda by placing a Maya medical kit in her head, and she's brought back to life. However, she is now immortal. She's unable to die. And as at the end of the episode, as he says, she's like a hybrid, which he just realizes on that spot. I forgot to mention it in the Magician's Apprentice, which is a familiar review, but I brought it up in one of the prologue episodes reviews, that Series 9's story arc is now the hybrid, which Davros just brings up out of nowhere, in which is familiar. A prophecy on Gallifrey about a creature that was half of two races, a hybrid. For Davros, he tries to make it look like it's half Dalek, half a Time Lord, and that's what he says. But throughout the series, the hybrid is kind of referenced a few more times, and that's going to be our story arc for the series. And it's kind of a weak story arc because it doesn't really tie in with every episode, and it's kind of a bit silly, really. It's not really working so much. It hasn't really even been established that much. The Doctor's confession dial was established more so than this hybrid stuff. But let's see how it turns out. You never know. It might have a really good revelation. I am, of course, joking. I already know what it is. Or rather, what it might be, rather, because I don't think it actually gets properly explained, in all honesty. But more on that when we get to bloody Hellbent. But in the meantime, wrapping up this episode, I really love the final shot where Happy Ashilda, thankful to be alive again, is looking out over the sea, and the days are going past. But as the camera does a really long pan round the back until we get back to her face, we see over this course of time that she has now started to feel sad about being immortal. And as the camera zooms in on the face, we see resentment. And that ends The Girl Who Died. A great episode. It's not perfect. There's a few issues. And it is, of course, setting up the Ashilda story arc, which I don't think will be as good as this episode in the future. But it's a good start to that. And I think on its own, it's a very good episode, as well as also a good start to this double bill of Ashilda stories back to back. The aforementioned story arc mainly covers these 2 episodes, but it's also present in another 2 episodes later on down the line. And I think, I just really like this story. I don't have a huge amount of nitpicks, but there are a few that kind of let it down slightly. But overall, I think this is great. Peter Capaldi, once again, brilliant, and I love how the Doctor's conflicted at several points throughout the story, and he's kind of stuck in some places until he gets a light bulb moment. And also, I like Clara in this one. I don't think she's as good as in Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar, but I think she's a step up from the last story. Again, that's the only time I'm going to say Before the Lake and Under the Flood did something not as good as some of the other stories. And I think this is one of Jenna Coleman's better performances as well, alongside the series opener. And like I said, I like Ashilda in this episode. This is probably her best episode, and I like Maisie Williams' performance as this type of character in this episode before going to a more cynical character in the next episode. And yeah, it's just a really fun episode. It's pretty cool to see something with the Vikings. With some Vikings. I don't think we've had any Viking-esque stories since the Time Meddler. And yeah, I do think the Maya could have been swapped out with any old warrior creature, but they're serviceable. I do think we shouldn't have seen the face reveal. You kind of get half of the face reveal earlier on, and then we got it revealed later. I think it would have been better to keep it all hidden. Actually, considering what they do look like under those helmets, it probably wouldn't have been worth it. So The Girl Who Died is a really great story. I will be giving it a 9 out of 10. Too nice and generous for this story, but to hell with it. As the Doctor said, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a great story, some great characters, great hot comedy, great drama, and some great stuff going for it. There are a few issues I do have with it, but it doesn't just detract too much from the story, and I think it's a well done story. Congratulations, Jamie Thiessen, you've done it again. So, that's it from The Girl Who Died, but stay tuned for more Ashildr stuff. Join me tomorrow for The Woman Who Lived, which is not as good as this episode. There's some great stuff in it, but there's also some very silly stuff in it. I'll see you guys then for that. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the Nicholas Payne YouTube channel.